Good morning. Welcome to another segment of my YouTube channel. It's a pleasure to have with me Kenneth Carter. Kenneth, I appreciate this opportunity. I do not take this lightly at all. I know you have other things to do, so thank you very much for agreeing to be on my YouTube channel. Please
Very welcome.
introduce yourself to the viewers and tell us about your experiences.
Okay. My name is Kenneth Carter III. I was born in Cocoa, Florida, moved to Orlando, Florida. Once I graduated high school, I went immediately to the military as a truck driver, went to the Army. And as I completed my time at the military, I got out and I thought I wanted to be a driver. So I kept driving. And from there, I kind of seen that my path wasn't really driving. So I kind of hopped into different fields here and there. And from there, I realized that, I love driving and I love trucking. I got back into it. Uh, and that's when things started to take a little turn. I realized that, I wasn't doing everything that I was supposed to do. And I wasn't making the money I was supposed to make. And I ended up uh, selling drugs, and it landed me in prison, trying to make some extra money. And in there, I realized that I needed to change my life around because the path that I was taking was not going to help me at all. It's going to just land me right back into the same place. And so I sat down and I identified my weaknesses and realized that I had a lot of weaknesses and that I wasn't the person that I thought I was or that I was saying to myself that I was. And it was hard. It took a lot of work, a lot of tears, and a lot of honesty to write down the true weaknesses.
So, Kenneth, what made you? What do you think made you get involved in drugs?
My mom was a truck driver actually in the military.
Okay, okay. Now, the you mentioned earlier about drugs. You got involved in drugs. What do you think drove you to that point?
I like the independence, honestly. That's
Okay,
how it started. I like to be able to do a job and do it right without someone looking over me. And I felt like that was the best way where I could perform at my best without somebody judging me on my skills.
okay. And how long you were in prison for?
2.5 years.
Wow. So during that time in prison, is it something happened that forced you to consider or reflect on your life, or what caused you to make a change?
Yes, it was the mirror or the makeshift mirror they had. I looked in the mirror months later, and I looked at myself and realized, wow, this is who you are, and this is where you're at. And right then, I realized, you know what, I have more potential than to just sit in this cell and live this monotonous life amongst everyone else. And I'm not downing people that's in there. There are some great people that's in there, but it wasn't for me. And I had to really harness that. And I had a outer body experience, and I was actually looking down on myself, and it embarrassed me from where I was.
That is awesome. Some people do not really reflect on themselves. Sometimes they continue to do the same thing over and over, become a repetitive, cycle. So that is a great milestone that you were able to reflect on yourself and try to transform your life. Did you find it difficult after you left prison? Did you find it difficult finding employment?
No, because I had very good behavior. So I went to a work release, or some may know it as a halfway house. I went there, and from there, I started to build a business. Well, I'm sorry, I built a business inside the gates, but I started working towards getting the business bigger. I started creating my website because we have cell phones, and from the cell phones, I was making cold calls when I didn't even have a business yet. Just trying to get the feel for it.
Hmm.
But because I was already at a work release, they assigned me a job already. So when I got out, I had a job, and the job didn't make me happy. It was truck driving, and it wasn't the job itself. It wasn't. It was the people, because I felt like that mindset was still with me,
Right.
and and it drives me crazy every day. And I shouldn't let it affect me, but it does. Seeing people that don't have a purpose,
Yeah.
So I really want to help people have a purpose, and I want to be around those people that have a purpose.
Yeah.
And I refused to check the felony box when I got out. It's like, I did something stupid for 2.5 years and I got sentenced, but my whole life is not going to reflect on that 2.5 years. So I refuse to let someone tell me what my future is going to be because of that.
Wow, that's incredible. So you say you were unhappy because really it's not what you wanted to do. So how do you know what you really want to do? I mean, what advice do you give to people? How do they know how do people know their purpose?
I think you know your purpose. You probably haven't identified it yet, but when you're always thinking about it, when it's waking you up with thoughts, and that's another thing we have to start realizing. We have to reflect on ourselves and really dig deeper because we don't know who we are. We can always say, oh, that person's this person or this person's that, and we're judging other people, and we can tell you exactly what that person wants, what they like, but when it comes to ourselves, we don't even know. So I think the first thing you need to do is ask, who am I? And that's when you don't come up with an answer, that's when it's time to start building your career and your purpose and your passion.
Do you go back to the prison to, try to inspire and encourage prisoners? Do you do that?
I'm actually working on that right now, and I try to get into every prison I can, every work release, every youth center, mentoring whatever I can. I'm actually building up my personal brand to help people that's in need before they get there or they're getting out. But I have visited the work release that I was at twice to walk people out, and people that was really positive and wanted something going for their life. And I just want to be able to be that person that carry their bags outside that gate and help them get to the next level.
That is awesome. So your original prison sentence, was it 2.5 years, or was it higher and or they just reduced your time?
It was 3 years. I got 6 months off, which is the max I can get off. I got those 6 months knocked off immediately. But the crazy thing was I was facing 90 years, and that
9 years?
still was 90 years, and that still wasn't a wake up call. And that's what's scary. Is like we go through things, and if it's a slap on the wrist, or if it's not as hard as you think it is, then you're like, oh, well, it's not that bad. And I just want to encourage people to really harness the worst pain they've had, because that's what it's really all about. You can't look at my situation and say, oh, well, if I'm not in prison, I'm okay. Even when it comes to substance abuse, for instance, oh, I'm drinking, but I have a job. Oh, I'm not as bad as that person that's living under the bridge. It doesn't matter. You need to feel what the pain is, and whatever the worst pain was, go back to that, and that'll help you catapult to the next step.
That's a good point you made, because even though we may not be, physically in prison, but our mindsets are in prison,
Yes.
so we need to, be free from the mindset. So, because some of us are in prison, but not really behind the doors. So that's a valid point you just raised.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't about the physical prison. It was I wasn't able to do anything I wanted to do mentally. When I wanted to create a company, when I finally figured out I wanted to do that, I couldn't do it. So I just wrote down stuff, read books, and wrote down. But it was just building up, and that pressure had to go somewhere. And once I was released, that pressure was put into building a business and building a future for myself and my family, and also being able to build a brand that can help other people through my experiences.
So tell us about your business.
Okay, so the business is a maritime freight and logistics, and we provide 3PL and brokerage services for businesses. We pretty much arrange setups for different shippers and clients to help them find freight. I'm sorry, find carriers to move the freight for them.
Oh, okay. And how long you've been in business now?
About 15 months now. I started the business 3 months after being released when it was actually official, and it was that was the best thing I've ever done. The past life that I had and the money and the fame, that wasn't anything because it wasn't real and it wasn't sustainable. But now that I can help other people, that's what really makes me happy.
Okay, could you elaborate on that point? You said the fast money and the fame isn't real. What do you mean by that? Elaborate on that for us, please.
Yes. So you're making fast money and you're the coolest person in your circle. Well, first of all, you're making the most money because you're around people that make less money, so you can feel bigger. You're around the people that are not as cool as you are or not as good looking as you are because you want to be that person that's on top. So that life is not really real. And the reason I say it's not real is because it's in your mind. And we all know that you have to grow, you have to find people that's bigger than you and better than you, and you mimic their actions. And that's when it starts to be real, when you can actually start moving up. But of course, Drexel, I'll hang out with you because I have more money than you. So now you need me. And it's not a good feeling, once you actually reflect on it and look back. So what I'm saying is what's in your mind is not real. It has to be real to the world, and it has to be able to help other people. And that's what makes it real.
Wow, that's profound. You're absolutely right, and the thing is, we use money as a means of success. A lot of us, if you're making a lot of money, you're considered very successful, and you could be doing your best you can and not making a lot of money, and you'll be considered unsuccessful. I mean, so that's a very good point. I'm glad you raised that because a lot of us we're yearning to become rich and we end up becoming greedy and we do anything to get the money, and that's not everything.
It's not. We've all had a lot of money, or what we thought was a lot of money. And if you acquired that money from nefarious means, then you realize you're not even happy, and there's still something that's missing, and you're trying to fill that void with more money and more money. But all you're doing is just pushing people down and stepping on other people's necks to get it. And at the end of the day, you're still not happy.
You're right. You're right. Kenna, have you reached out to individuals who was involved in this fast money or who was trying to get? I mean, before going to prison, I assume you had some bad company. Have you reached out to them and tried to, you know, try for them to realize what they're doing is not the means to an end. It's temporary. Have you reached out to them?
No, the reason why is because you really have to find it in yourself. And I don't need to be around that environment. I'm not saying that I'm weak-minded and I won't have the temptation, but I don't need to put myself in that situation ever again. And those people that were around, I'll tell you firsthand, they won't be around if something happens bad. So these people chose to remove themselves out of my life, and it was the best thing that ever happened. So I don't have any remorse. I don't have to go back and revisit or anything because no one owes me anything because no one was ever there.
Oh, yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, that's good. And the fact that you are out here telling your story, you don't really need to go back there anyway because you're telling your stories in different mediums and other people are seeing it. So even if you don't impact those from the past, you are impacting others. So that's a very good point you made.
Thank you. I mean, you can post something or you can say something to somebody and they won't hear it until they're ready to hear it. So I don't need to go back to those people that wasn't around to say, hey, look at me or let me help you or anything because when they're ready, then they'll come to you.
Yeah,
And,
no,
and
no,
I get on
you're right. You're absolutely right. When they're ready, they'll come. Yeah.
right. And there's a lot of people that say, well, how do I get to the next level? Or what do I do to change? Or this person's not supportive of me. And I always tell people, you know what, just do what you're doing, do it the right way. And those people will eventually they'll fall off if you guys are not moving on the same path. And so you don't have to do any work. You just got to keep working on yourself.
Absolutely. Kenneth, were there moments where you were tempted to go back trying to get the fast money? Were there moments?
No, I'm scared straight.
Really?
Yes, I've never thought about it ever again. I quit my job last month and I still haven't thought about it. It's just not there because it wasn't the money. Like we was talking about earlier, the money doesn't make you happy. And I was always gone and I was never around, for my daughters. So it wasn't about the money. It was just about a fulfillment. And I was trying to find some kind of void and until I identified what that void was, then I couldn't really fix it with money.
Okay. Okay. Well, Kenneth, I just want to, thank you for this opportunity to be on this YouTube channel and experiencing your transformation. But before we close, could you just tell the viewers again, like what you went through? Because I'm not sure we really covered that up. Tell us what you went through in terms of what you did to get the fast money. Just before we close, because I'm not sure they hear that part.
Of course. So I started partying. Long story short, I started partying in the clubs, and from being in the clubs, I realized that a lot of people was asking for coke, and so I ended up trying coke myself. And when I tried it, I realized how addictive it was, and so then I started selling it. And then every day turned to I'm in the club selling coke. And it started from drinking because I was using drink every single day, and because I drank every day, somebody said, "Hey, if you do cocaine, it'll balance you out." And so from there, I started drinking more. I started doing drugs more. Then I started selling the drugs, and then it became a lifestyle. And then that cycle was deadly. There was times in my mind, deep down inside, where I said, "You know what? This is not me. I shouldn't do this." But I'll still get up that night and go back out to the club and do it again. So just that drive, that negative drive or that false drive, I should say, was pushing me to go sell more drugs, more drugs. But then it was more money, and then it was more people, and it was more friends. So it continued to push me to do that. And the best thing that ever happened was going to prison.
Okay.
It was, I mean, it was amazing. And the
Okay.
people, they're like, "That's crazy," but I needed something to stop me from
Slow you
thinking.
down.
Yep, slow. It was more than slow. It
Yeah,
just
yeah. It just stopped you. It stopped you.
it
Yes, yes.
stopped. Yeah, it
So,
stopped.
so you got caught in a bar. How did you get to prison? Did the cops caught you somewhere?
No, okay, so that's a crazy story. I stopped selling and I started working for a major corporation as a regional manager. And I was making really good salary. And a guy called me from my past, was asking me, "Hey, can you find some coke for me?" And I said no. I don't know how many times I've said no. And eventually I just gave in and said, "Yes, okay, I'll do it for you." And before I finish that story, that's my number one weakness was assertiveness. You have to just be strong for yourself. If you know it's something wrong, don't do it. Say no and move away. And don't have these people that's still in your life, because if you want to change, you have to change the people that's around you too.
True.
And he ended up setting me up. I sold it to him one time, and he called me back again a couple months later, and I kept saying no again. And I finally said yes. I gave in once again, and I wasn't even actively selling. And this time he said, "Well, I couldn't make it, but my friend that was with me last time can come." And when his friend came, it was an undercover cop.
Wow.
So yeah, I got in the car with the cop, the officer, and as soon as I handed him the coke, the ounce, they snatched him out the car, and there was about 30 cops around me, surrounded with guns and ski masks.
Wow.
And my girlfriend, which is now my fiance, was in the car next to us, and they surrounded her in the car with guns as well. And they snatched me out the car. So not only did I put myself in danger, I put other people in danger.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And anything can happen at that moment. And I look at it from both ends. If I'm a cop and I don't know who this person is and he's a drug dealer, I'm just as scared, as they are, or as that person is. And you never know. It's just one moment where a trigger gets pulled. And I failed to see my future. And at that moment, I could have lost everything and not been here today. So
Wow.
it's that money turned to worse things. And so I don't operate now off of money. I operate off of happiness and fulfillment.
That's it. That's it. Well, I'm really happy to see, that you transformed your life. You mentioned earlier that, drugs can be addictive. Did you have to go through some sort of therapy to get rid of the addictiveness, or just stop?
I just stopped.
Okay.
Uh, the the therapy is meant for you to be able to talk about it and talk to someone about it. But at the end of the day, like I said before, you have to talk to yourself. You really do. I'm not saying programs don't work. They work for some people, And there's people that fail the programs over and over and over because they haven't identified what it is that they need to do. And you got to have a drive bigger than that addiction. What is your bigger addiction? And my bigger addiction is to have some purpose in my life to help others. And that's what gives me that dopamine, that release. It's that helping others. And I mean, now I'm reading posts that people are writing me, and I'm shedding tears because that's what I really want. And before I was hurting people and they were shedding tears. Now I'm helping people and I'm the one shedding tears. So that makes me feel proud.
Yes, I came across you and I say, wow, I have to hear this. I have to hear your story. That's when I saw your articles. I say, I have to hear your story and to share with others because you are an inspiration. And I believe that you will uplift and encourage others to, at least they'll think about it. And in their mind, subconscious, I believe they'll eventually quit from what they're doing by hearing, stories, such as your story.
Yes, thank you.
Kenneth, do you have any closing remarks? I just want to thank you again, but do you have any closing remarks you want to share to the viewers?
Yeah, I just want to say that you have to own it and you have to divorce it. Whatever it is, you own it, take responsibility, hold yourself accountable, and process that through your mind that you were the one that was, responsible for the problem, and then divorce it. Let it go. Do not hang on to it.
So own it. Let's go to own it. What's the next one?
Divorce it. And divorce it. Yes.
Okay.
You have to. I mean, if not, what happens? You hold on to that, and that's what happened to me. You hold on to it, so it still come back around and it bites you. You have to just clean it up. I just want to say the final thing is don't let a setback be the reason you sit down.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Kenneth. I appreciate this opportunity. This is certainly a great conversation to have with you. And I know our viewers will be happy listening to this conversation. Thank you again and have a wonderful day.
You too, Drex. Thank you so much.
All right, then. Bye-bye.